Neter is a Kemetic word which means the principle or aspect of the divine.
Aspects of divinity's personality. Aspects of the essence of the divinity's personality.
And so they identified specific aspects of nature that were associated with the land, with water, with air, with the sun, with plants, with animals.
All animals, that's birds, bees, ants, insects, fish, all of them were here before human beings was on this planet. So now, if certain animals know how to survive in the desert, all I gotta do is study those animals and I get a clue.
So every single thing on this planet was understood by them to contain an aspect, a principle of the one.
Western society do it too. They call them angels. We know there's no people with wings flying around anywhere, but they have these people with wings that represents, you have Gabriel, you have Michael, and you have other angels that do different things. They represent different powers of God in our lives. And we use archetypical anthropomorphic symbols. And that's what the symbols in ancient Kemet is, with the different bird heads and animal symbols.
So in ancient Kemet, they looked at this and they said, whoa, he has the keenest eyesight. The falcon is the only bird that can look directly at the sun. That's like looking at the face of the creator.
So it's only in South Africa where African spirituality can officiate an opening of parliament. I think it's only in South Africa where African spirituality is not regarded as witchcraft. It's a spirituality, that's just what it is. I mean, we have also a former British colony. First French or Dutch even at a certain time, but the English have had us the most. So, like all the other countries, it is struggling to breathe and survive. Against Christianity, against Islam, we have an Indian population, against Hinduism even. So I think the effect it has had is immense. One, they've managed to convince us that everything that's African spirituality is witchcraft. Now, my daughter normally says, we must decolonize language. And for a long time, I didn't take it seriously until I had to analyze the word witch doctor. I don't know which language you speak. In South Africa, we have 9 official African languages, but we have more because some have not been captured. And I speak, read and write 7 of them. The 8th, I can hear broken speaking. So I can tell you in the African languages I've come across, I'm sure even yours, you'll tell me which one your language is. For us, a witch, umthakathi, that is Zulu, Ndebele, Swati. In Xhosa is igqwirha, and then a healer, that is a doctor, inyanga, or Xhosa people will say ugqirha. Now, I can't tell you that in my languages we have something called inyanga mthakathi or igqwirha gqirha. You are either or. You either heal or you witch and you kill. You can't mirror the two. But they've given us that name and it has stayed through colonialism. We call anyone that's practicing African spirituality, healing, we call them witch doctors. Now, I don't know, what is it we say they are doing? Are they witching or are they doctoring? Because you cannot do both. So that for me, as an example, just tells you everything. The negativity that we have towards African spirituality. And I've been to 39 now African countries. I'm just appalled by how when I say I'm not a Christian, I'm in African spirituality, people quickly say, do you really want to declare that out loud? And I say, why shouldn't I? They say, then people think you're a witch. I said, well, I know I'm not a witch. They can think whatever they think. They're colonized. I'm not colonized. So I think I'll stop here to allow you to come back. So that's a conversation.
One of the most inescapable misconceptions about black women in magic is that a central figure of the Salem witch trials was black. However, Tituba, whom Elizabeth Hubbard and several other girls accused of witchcraft in February 1692, was actually an enslaved woman, likely from South America. However, there were two black servants named Candy and Mary Black who were accused of witchcraft. Black people were less than 1% of early New England, and the highest concentration was in Massachusetts. Bostonite clergyman, witch hunter, and writer Cotton Mather described black people in 1706 as the Negro Christianized. Very many of them actually worship devils or maintain a magical conversation with devils, and all of them are more slaves to Satan than they are to you, until a faith in the Son of God has made them free indeed. Will you do nothing to pluck them out of the jaws of Satan the Devourer? This call to convert black people, and also the indigenous people, was strong because it was assumed that all non-Christian religions were demonic. White observers noted the use of magical talismans and charms of protection, divining, and a belief in ghosts as further proof that Africans worshipped Satan and were demonic. I hurt nobody. Who doth? I do not know, said Mary Black, who was accused in April 1692. She was wearing a pin in her neckcloth and was asked to remove it and repin it. When she did, several of the afflicted cried out they were pricked. Mary Walcott was pricked in the arm till the blood came. Abigail Williams was pricked in the stomach, and Mercy Lewis was pricked in the foot. Not much else is known about Mary except for that her enslaver Nathaniel Putnam got her off, and she was cleared by January 1693. Nate's nephew Thomas Putnam just so happened to be a prominent accuser during the witch trials. Candy was from Barbados, and under questioning on July 4th, she blamed her white enslaver Margaret for allegedly making her sign her name in the devil's book. She said, "Candy no witch in her country, Candy's mother no witch, Candy no witch Barbados. This country, mistress give Candy, witch." In her possessions was a handkerchief wherein several knots were tied, rags of cloth, a piece of cheese, and a piece of grass. When the knotted rag, likely a doll or poppet, was burned, it got weird. According to John Hale in 1702, I was credibly informed some compelled Candy to swallow the grass, and that night was burnt in her flesh, and one took a piece of her rag and burnt it in the fire, and one of the afflicted that had complained of her was presently burned on the hand. Another piece of her rags was put under water, and then other complainants were choked and strived for breath as if under water, and another ran to the river as if she would drown herself. What's interesting is that even with this confession and alleged magic, Candy was also jailed and then acquitted and released, while 25 white people ended up dying or being executed. Perhaps Arthur Miller sought to amalgamate the three women into one character in his 1953 play, The Crucible. Or more likely, he leaned into stereotypes about voodoo, giving Tituba a live frog, a kettle, and chicken blood, and years of actual black witchcraft beliefs and magic tales passed down in the roughly 250 years following the trials of Tituba, Candy, and Mary Black. Throughout chattel slavery, there were black people in and outside of the community believed to have the power. The power was known by different things in various regions and times. In the 17th century, it was cunning men, conjurers, and witches. By the 19th century, you were more likely to hear hoodoo, emerging in print as early as 1870, and root workers. Some people performed tricking, aka casting spells. People who trafficked in misfortune with their powers were trick doctors and witch doctors. If you hailed from Florida, South Carolina, or Georgia, you'd hear conjure doctors, wise men, two-head doctors, long heads, and double-sighters. Perfect names for healers. Among the black populations in Louisiana and Mississippi, you'd hear about voodoos, wangateurs, and horses. No matter what word was used, the people who were believed to be available for injuring or destroying enemies, getting rid of rivals or undesirables, softening hearts, winning or holding love, breaking up homes, calling the absent, getting jobs, dodging the law, protecting property, detecting criminals, gambling, collecting debts, disciplining servants, stopping trains and steamboats, producing fertility or barrenness in women, promoting crops, controlling weather, foretelling the future, and locating lost and stolen goods, water, and buried treasure. Oh my God, that's a lot of responsibility. By the way, that quote was from the really excellent Black Magic, Religion, and the African American Conjuring Tradition by Yvonne P. Chereau.
Is that we having this kind of scents, product scent, this scent, that scent, all kind of scent oils, trying to Christianize African spirituality, which may have positive and negative effects. Positive effects being that some African people are now trying to study or come back into African spirituality from inside Christianity. Negative effects is that they still believe that the so-called Christian God is the most powerful God in the universe, and that they still worship a white Jesus, they still pray to a white Jesus, they are still mental slaves to a white Jesus. The only thing is that they are still practicing their metaphysics of African spirituality or under the umbrella of a white Jesus. So technically, they are not completely free. They are not completely free. So these people, they're still trapped there. And this is the problem I have with most of them. Now, this brother that necessitated this topic today, he wants to know why all this is so. And what is the difference between saints and ancestors? For us to know this saint thing, let's go to Europe, the people that brought this saints ideology, that they have saints in their religion, and we should be worshiping these saints. So the first place I went to was Google, what is a saint? According to the Christians, if you type saints, meaning of definition of saint in Wikipedia, a saint is a person who is recognized as having exceptional degree of holiness, likeness, and closeness to God.
There were several kingdoms around Nigeria: Benin, Togo, Ghana, Senegal, and Congo. And these are the people that were brought to the islands in Brazil, and Cuba. What the Spaniards didn't know, they considered all equal blacks a beast of work. They thought they were all spoke the same language and that they all understood each other without realizing that they brought 26 different races.
Oh, wow.
With over 120 languages and dialects. But what they did have in common is ways of worshiping. And the worshiping was based in nature. Now, this religion arrives through Christopher Columbus, right? They were mostly baptized as Catholics. No two ways about it.
So they didn't have a choice.
No choice. So they begin to hide what they worship behind the Catholic saints. And from there they were Santeria, who means in Spanish worship of saints.
Okay.
But in the African side, the word saint don't exist. Exists the word Orisha.
Orisha.
And Ori is this part inside called your own consciousness.
Okay.
And Sha means protector or guide of your consciousness.
Okay.
Like a guardian angel, to say. They began to practice the religion hidden from the Spaniards. The slaves were divided in groups. The field workers and the indoor slaves.
Okay.
The indoor slaves began to learn Spanish or Portuguese or French, whichever the masters. And occasionally happened that somebody in the family of the master will get sick. But at the time, doctors were very scarce.
I can imagine.
And it would take many days for a doctor to reach some of the farms or plantations. So one of the indoor slaves offered their service that they knew one of the slaves, they could help him.
Okay.
And it did help him, heal him. And as a gratitude, the master will allow him to practice in certain days, no under the supervision of the church.
Yeah.
He wants to know why people are still praying to Christian saints as against African ancestors. Even in the area of African spirituality, you still go to many spiritual shops, you will see different spiritual products. They will be saying this is Saint this, Saint that, Saint Michael, Saint Columba, Saint, and so many saints. Most times when I go to spiritual shops, when I see names of products, there are products I would like to buy, but due to the name where they were named, I don't just buy the products. There are many products I might want to talk about here, but talking about those products due to the way it is named, it's like I am giving glory to the false god. Many of these products are so religiously named with names of Christian saints. And I cannot be talking about those kind of things here. It's like I'm giving glory or relevance to Christianity on this channel. But the people that are doing this, so they know that the product have no business with Christianity, but they're using these names to capitalize on illiterate spiritualists or illiterate people or Christians that are trying to come into African spirituality to buy these products to feel that, oh, since it's named with the name of a saint, it is a holy product. For instance, let me give you an example here. I think I have one of these kind of things here. Like you're going to see this product like this is a oil, they call St. Michael oil or Angel Michael spiritual oil. It has no business with Angel Michael, but the name is that you see Angel eating down a demon. What you see here is like it is a kind of Christian philosophy or ideology that this is promoting. And guess what? A lot of churches buy this oil now. If you come to Nigeria, and I'm shocked that when I go to walk past a lot of churches, you see them having a spiritual shop. In the front, I will be seeing this kind of products, Angel Michael, Angel Uriah, Angel Gabriel soap, Angel this. And the church members are buying it. They are buying it because they feel that since it's written by Angel, it's from a Christian source. And they should be able to use it. So once you're going to notice that a lot of Christians, I know Christianity is very popular in Nigeria, and many of them are not kind of branching into African spirituality in a way. Apparently, they have come to realize that their prayers are not actually working, or it's not actually effective as they were promised. So many of them are now branching into African spirituality. Many of them are being introduced to stuff like this through white garment churches. These so-called white garment prophetic churches we have all over Nigeria. Some call themselves Celeste, some call themselves Solobian, Safari, different kind of funny names. These are people that they wear white garment every Sunday and walk barefoot to their church. And what these people actually do is that they practice African spirituality, but they hide it under Christianity. They hide it with the Bible. But if you remove the Bible from these white garment churches, what they are practicing is full-blown African spirituality. But many of them will tell you they are Christians. They pray a lot in the churches. They dance a lot. They see a lot of mad visions. And a lot of things happen in these places. But when I've studied these people, I've worked with them. I have even attended their church before. What I saw there is mind-blowing. And I keep telling them that you people are not Christians. You're just using Bible to cover your face. You need to be honest about your practice. But many of them will not be honest.
There are many indigenous religions across Africa today, like Vodun, Orisha and Nkiche. They vary in practice from region to region, but share common features such as the idea in some higher and pervasive entity and force, which is manifested in everything that has been created now and in the future. The idea that ancestors exist in another world and can be invoked to intervene in our affairs. And prayers and sacrifices are made to intercessors so that a person's life on earth can be good and he or she can become an ancestor after death. Today, of Africa's 1 billion population, about 15% follow traditional religions. The rest are mostly Muslims and Christians. To find out more, I travel off the beaten track in southwestern Zimbabwe to meet a remote community in the Matobo Hills in Matabeleland with Zimbabwean culture expert Patisa Nyati. Patisa explains to me that these people are being trained in traditional spiritual practices.
This is spiritual elevation. They are under training. There are two things that are very important. Ululation, it's a show of reverence. And then secondly, they were mentioning the name of the ancestor. That's very important. So through ululating and also clapping hands. When you clap hands, you are showing reverence.
And it summons the spirit.
That's right. That's right. That's the whole purpose. What we are witnessing here is spirituality. It wasn't religion. It's not proper to call it religion. It's spirituality for us. But that spirituality is what ensured fertility of the soil and sustenance of the human race.
So just list for us then what those fundamental beliefs were, that power resided in nature, that there were gods present in trees, in plants, in the soil.
It all starts with the nature of person. When you look at me, what is my nature? Western society will see me as flesh, blood, and bones. For us, yes, all those are there. But more importantly, there is spirit. We believe, Africa believes in the soul, in the spirit. And the two are married. When I die, death is not the end. It's but the beginning of longer life, eternity. That's what Africa believes. This is why you're going to find death ceremonies, rituals are quite complex. They are meant to guide the spirit, going wherever it is going, perhaps to some constellation. Stars were very important. It's a pity that Africa is losing a knowledge of astronomy. Our forefathers were studying the stars because you learned a lot. Even during the night, stars will tell you how advanced the night was. So spiritualism has that basis. And then we had that ceremony, which we call bringing home ceremony, where you are inviting the departed spirit to come back, say, after a year, to look after its progeny. So when I die, as a spirit, I'll come back to look after my own children. This was fundamental to African spirituality.
And your grandchildren and so on and so forth.
That's right.
And that just lasts forever and ever.
Forever and ever.
And you watch over them, make sure they have enough to eat, that they are successful.
Good life, good health, right. All that. So for us, spirituality was functional.
So these spiritual people here, men and women, help people connect with their departed ones. Is that what it is? And also veneration of nature.
Yes, because for us, without nature, you really can't talk of spirituality. It's all interwoven, interacted, interrelated. It's all one thing.
And the non-Haitians alike that have practiced religion today. I am in the marketing field and I do work in the metropolitan area in New York State. I look around and I see, in as much as the religion originated, the closest thing to Africa, Haiti, we see today that in New York, we see Jamaican, we see Guyanese, we see Puerto Rican, we see people from all walks of life, even white Americans, practicing religion and finding a righteous place.
I wasn't originally born in the religion. I was originally Episcopalian. What happened, I was staying with some people who were into the religion. What happened, I had a choice of going, so I went. So I went to the ceremony and I found out what it was all about. I learned about it. I liked what I saw. I became curious and I wanted to know more. And then I just eventually got into it. So now it is my religion. And it will be for always and forever because I believe in it so strongly.
I think the main reason I was drawn to voodoo, one was the drumming. Drumming is a crucial part of my life. Secondly, since as long as I can remember, I've always had a very deep relationship with nature. And thirdly, I was raised as a Roman Catholic. And even though today I don't believe in all the foundations of Catholicism, I always had an affinity for the ritual aspects of Catholicism. And even as a child, I used to extract certain parts of the Mass and hold my own ceremonies in my cellar for my friends and stuff. So I was always used to acting in a very ritualistic way. We're not all blood relatives. In the house I belong to, there are people, I think I'm probably the first white initiate in the house, but we have members from Barbados and all over the West Indies and different parts of this country as well. So we're not all Haitian. But in the eyes of the Loa, that doesn't matter because we're all one.
For a very long time, it was really in Haiti only that voodoo was known. But up to now, we have it all over the world because in our house, we have people of different nationalities, races, and they come in. Everybody is welcome as long as you are good and you want to serve the spirit.
Odan kisi mande salado, lamitan silibu aibu, dambala wedu. Odan o kisi mande salado, lamitan silibu aibu. Dambala wedu. Odan kisi mande salado, lamitan silibu aibu. Dambala wedu. Oda kisima de salado, la mitan silibo aibo, dambala wedo. Oda o kisima de salado, il la mitan silibo aibo.